Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for taking time to listen in to the We the Collective Fitness podcast. It's me, Charlie, over here at the Forest Park location over on Madison. So if you want to start your weightlifting journey or start to learn more about fitness, stop on in, talk to me, and we can go get you running on the goals that you want to go ahead and complete. I wanted to take today's time to talk a bit about carbohydrates and some of the bits and pieces that we don't understand properly, or information that's gotten out into the public that can be a bit misleading or kind of deter you from having carbs. For one, carbs are fine. There's nothing wrong with carbs for most people. Now, if individuals have things like celiac disease or some other gluten intolerance or some other like allergies, eating those items just aren't good for you, period. So they don't even necessarily have to be carbohydrates, but people will go ahead and start to blame that because their digestive system is like the only one that there is. Apparently, as human beings, we can be incredibly binary in our thought process and think that it's like all or nothing. So let's take this for an example. Someone goes ahead and cuts bread out of their diet, and a week later, they have lost 4 pounds. Now, most likely what's happened for these people is like, well, how did they lose 4 pounds? They cut out bread. This must be a good thing. Well, usually when people start a fitness journey, they start to become a little bit more active or they're a little bit more conscious about the things that they eat. So it becomes a number of things that become the drivers. There's multiple drivers in that scenario that can go ahead and lead to weight loss. It's not necessarily just eating something very specific or removing something very specific from your diet. I would only recommend removing something from your diet if it is ultra processed and you're like, well, I could probably make a better option with this one, or you're allergic. Other than that, you should be able to eat some of the things that you want and just understand serving size. So when people go ahead and have carbs, they start to talk about things like they get really bloated when they eat carbs. They could have some kind of allergy related to the product that they've been eating. Or during the process of our digestion, we convert a lot of those carbs into something usable for our bodies known as glycogen. Glycogen's awesome, especially if you want to have good performance. So if you consider yourself an athlete and you want to be able to endure something for a very long time, yes, carbs are fantastic for it because as they convert into glycogen, it's stored in the muscle itself. So it becomes a very quick opportunity for the muscle to go and reach out, grab the energy, and use it right away instead of waiting for something a whole lot longer. So you'll kind of see people will bloat up a little bit. Yes, because glycogen loves water. So for 1 unit of glycogen can hold upwards of 3 units of water. And that's still a really good thing because now we're keeping water close to the musculature. We're keeping energy close to the musculature. So as we go ahead and start to get tired, there's resources already there, just stash boxes of just stuff ready to keep going. So if you talk to people who are endurance runners, marathon runners, they're going to go ahead and spend their time with Pedialyte and Gatorades and using energy gels and all these other things that are very high carb because it gives them the opportunity to use that stuff up as energy. Now, there's another camp that's out there that would push for something like ketosis. Am I a fan of ketosis? For myself, no. I don't like to do that for myself. I like having carbs. There's no reason that I can't have carbs. So there's no reason for me to like not to do that. So when I go ahead and start to think of people in ketosis, that's basically the process of your body going through fat burning. So your body is using fat as the primary source of energy. And you're like, well, I'd be burning more fat. Ketosis sounds perfect. Why shouldn't I just use ketosis? Here's why. If you want to, cool, but at least have a good understanding of what you get yourself into. During ketosis, the body converts over from using the natural sugars within glycogen, right? That's the regular storage, into using fat, which is ketosis. And as that fat breaks down, it's a little bit more complex to break down than a regular carb, right? So if a regular carb, 1 gram is going to cost you about 4 units or 4 calories. And fat for 1 gram is going to cost you 9. So it's easier to break apart 4 than it is to break apart 9. So carbs get broken down very, very easy. Fats can also be rather needed in some other formats as well. So if we're burning fat a little bit too fast, some of those other processes within our bodies, hormonal, basically our use of certain vitamins like A or D or K, some of these other ones are fat soluble. They need that fat to be there to go ahead and perform properly. So people go ahead, they remove their carbs and they start to get into ketosis. And what happens to a fair amount of people, not everyone, is they get something known as the keto flu, where they actually get really, really sick as they go through like the first couple of days. If you can make it through it and you're all right, cool. Some people might not even get it, but it is that transfer over of your body recognizing that there is no more carbs. Technically, your body does not need carbs to survive. It absolutely needs proteins and fats, so keto can keep you alive. However, based on a lot of the studies that are becoming out there, having a keto-based diet is not the best for someone who wishes to be an endurance type athlete. So if you just want to go ahead and live like a regular day-to-day life, you go on a simple walk, you lift a little bit of weights, you do something like CrossFit, 100% fine. You can live completely normal with ketosis, especially if you enjoy eating that way. And it's not just simply having like animal products and butter. There's more to it, but people are absolutely can go ahead and do that. But if you want to go ahead and start to train things like to become like a soccer player, you want to be a better runner, you want to play basketball, you want to do these things that have a lot more stamina and endurance. It is studied in enough tests that have been out there that you don't perform as well when you're on keto because that quick turn energy, that energy that's already present within the muscle, isn't present in the muscle. So for myself, I like to lift heavy because I want to be bigger, right? I want to get a little bit bigger, but I don't want to weigh a ton, right? I want to look a little bit more muscular. So having carbs in my diet has allowed me to go ahead and recognize a better pump. So when I go ahead and lift weights, and as I kind of transition into my cut for the early part of the year, I do want to take advantage of the glycogen storages that I have and make sure that I can keep them really full because I'm going through a lot of repairs within my own body, especially for how I train. So how I train, I need to make sure that I have enough resources within the muscle so they can be repaired. And I want to be able to make sure I can have the energy that I need to get throughout the day, right? I have a standard day. My standard day is basically 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like this is my day. Not every single time, but for the majority of the days, that's what I get, right? I don't get as much sleep as I should. So I really need to go ahead and recognize that of myself, right? That's a flaw that I have for me and something I can work on a little bit different. But having carbs in your diet is perfectly fine to go ahead and have, right? If you do have dietary issues that stop you from having them, that is a separate issue compared to the conversation here. Because some people have taken such a binary approach on it, thinking, all right, well, if carbs are bad, every carb is bad. So there's not like maybe there's some carbs that are really good for you. Some people have gotten so extreme that they'll go ahead and say things like fruits and vegetables, which have natural sugars, which are carbohydrates, they will say that they're bad for you. I think fruits and vegetables are some of the best things that you can go ahead and eat, period. I really don't want to like argue through that. Fruits and vegetables being nutrient dense, having, the vitamins and minerals that we need, fiber that our bodies need. Like we are built to go ahead and eat those things. We are built to be omnivores. So we should be able to eat those things. Now, if you're a vegan or something else, fine. You're 100% allowed to be a vegan. But in those scenarios, you're going to end up with a lot more carbs in your diet anyway. So if you're going to go ahead and be a gluten-free vegan, thinking that carbs are bad, there's not many options for you left to eat in that scenario. So you're going to end up with a very, very strict diet, which is going to be easier to fall off the wagon. Now, again, if it's a medical thing, separate situation. I need to make that abundantly clear on like a number of times through because people will go ahead and say, well, you said it, I'm special, I'm different, I need special treatment. I'm not talking directly about you. I'm talking to the general public that's out there because there's these weird stigmas that exist. And I want to go ahead and be a good resource to go ahead and help people to the best of my ability. So if you enjoy having carbs, have carbs. But here's the other setback. That binary thought process that we have. Well, if I can have carbs, I can have all the carbs. Eating a surplus of energy, period, is going to cause weight gain. If I go ahead and say I cut out all my carbs completely and I go full ketosis, I go full keto, right? And I overconsume proteins and fats more than what my body can break down and use in a day, I will store it as body fat, period. There's no way around that. That's how science works. So if I eat too many carbs in a day, it will store as body fat. Not because carbs automatically stores body fat. Whoever starts those things, it's silly. It converts to glycogen, right? Our body converts it into something else to be used. And if it's unable to be used, it'll say, well, we're not using it. Let's go put it to something else. So that's why it's important to make sure that you remain active as you go ahead and live your life. It's not to just sit at your desk like a gremlin. You just type away all day. Like I'm all hunched over right now. It's probably just that the mic can hear me a little bit better. But we have a great opportunity to do a lot of really cool things in our lives. And I think some individuals are just being misguided. And I don't even want to tell people that they're wrong, but I want to give them more tools to go ahead and think about the well-being of themselves and what they want to go ahead and do. So give it a shot. Good luck.